Cleanup is the not glamorous part of photography. My gear here, I'm trying to keep in order. Got a camera I still need to put up. So while I do this, why don't you watch me shoot some photos on film and digital with tilt shifts and Hasselblad lenses and color film and a little black and white film. See ya in a minute. I'm Jamie Maldonado, this is Camera Insecura, and we're here this week. I'm just gonna see on my show notes here. I have show notes. This week has been a bit of a hodgepodge as far as content goes, but what it boils down to is I've taken a bunch of outdoor portraits, fashion photos, especially in a variety of settings, but mostly with just outdoor lighting or ambient lighting. And I used medium format digital, 35mm film, and Super 8 film, which is kind of cool. But you won't be able to see that this episode because I have to get it sent off to a lab and developed. I just developed 2 rolls of 35mm, including the one I just shot, and I hope to have a few previews of that before I post this episode. They'll probably be tagged on at the end. So you remember Holly and Haley probably from past episodes, which I will link up here. And we went out and wound up shooting on the same day at Alex and Afton Vintage in Tyler, Texas, where my friend Caitlin was once again a style goddess. Let's check out the shoot with Haley and Holly, and then after that I'll have another shoot with TIffany and Bree. It can be really intimidating when you have 2 shoots going on at the same time, and I'm using a bunch of cameras, and that's not necessarily the thing you want to do. I kind of wanted to see how it went, just to once again go out with film and digital to see if I could interchangeably work with them, having somewhat of a vision already, and just kind of having a workflow. And I think it worked out pretty well. I wasn't overly distracted. I tried to keep things nice and tight. I would kind of get the concept and the feel for things with the digital photos, and then I'd try, if I thought the setup called for it, a few film photos at the end of that. And I think that worked out successfully. The same thing with Super 8, and I sort of do the same thing with video, although for B-roll video a lot of times I will kind of do that to get a mood if I'm not getting it with the other stuff. And this is why you do a lot of photo shoots, and a lot of times you just you don't have an immediate thing in mind, and that can be good and bad because there's a lot of pressure to know your thing and to have a style or have a look, and a lot of that happens more naturally than you think it does. I worry about that a lot. It's like, do I look like myself? Am I looking anything consistent? Is this anything connected to work I've done? It's also good to just let go and work. Todd Heido and so many other people say it, and I've said it: you shoot first and ask questions later. Because if you think too hard or you try to stay on a track too much and you encounter this, you think this is me and I have to stay in this mold. Well, you've put a bunch of input into your head. You've had ideas. You consume photography and movies and music and books and anything else that could possibly influence your work. There's a lot of it, and anything that influences you. So you've consumed all of that, and it's always churning in your head. You see other people's work, and you say, no, I want to do it. I would do it this way. And so that will come out when you shoot. You don't necessarily have to consciously, if you are at the camera thinking that hard, a lot of times you're not taking a good picture because you're thinking too much and getting in your way. Caitlin picked out this great bodysuit, and I decided it was spooky season. I wanted to do something to kind of mark the turning away from the bright summer, which actually I'll get to more in a minute. I did this photo in black and white, and I have the Hasselblad, the Fotodiox Hasselblad V lens tilt shift adapter. That's a mouthful. It twists and turns and does full rotations. I'll show a little product page here, and I'm not sponsored. And I had thought about using the Kaipon one, but I saw Fotodiox had theirs for significantly cheaper. So I got it, and it was cheaper, so it was a lower risk, because I know it's kind of gimmicky. But I have 3 really nice Hasselblad V lenses that would be nice to use, and I'm trying to figure out a solution for kind of headshot portraits without dropping $2,000, because I'm still not sure how I want to go approach that on my Fuji, because that 110 is completely lovely, but I just don't have $2,000 for a lens right now, especially after the debacle with getting the other lenses. So I'm trying that out, and it's early returns. It's the first shoot with it, but you can see how I affected the depth of field and got the tilt shift effect on this picture of Haley, which kind of was cool because it helped me get the creepy look that I knew I would want to do. So I tried it out, and it was not the easiest thing to focus, but I've gotten a little bit better at focusing manually with a Fuji. My biggest complaint is there's this little nut on it to control the tilt shift or lock down the tilt, and it's a little dinky, and that was the one thing I was worried about, but it seems to be just fine so far. I don't know how it'll be in 2 years or a year. The tilt shift effect is kind of becoming passe now, really. Also, I like the perspective correction being available not on software only, because you have to crop photos to correct the perspective, and you can make up for some of that with like content aware fill, but that's not always the case. Join Michelle Singletary, Stephanie K. Smith, Sarah, Hugo Hernandez, Ronnie Pittman, and May as patrons. My Patreon contributes just a small amount of cash right now, but it's a huge help considering that this is a nights and weekend passion project. So your contributions matter a lot to me, and I appreciate my patrons. So Bree and Tiffany and I went out to a lake spot after looking for a swimming pool and whiffing, and I wanted kind of this feel of summertime ending, or as I say, the deaths of summer, but also there's a sense of liberation and emancipation and even a hint of sadness in the dying days of summer before school, or especially when you're at the school or college age, or if you or around people who are in that, and you have this like kind of like lack of responsibility that happens over summers or breaks. And that's always really been something I've been interested in, and photographically speaking, something I've kind of covered a lot. So I wanted to do this different kind of scene, this more rebellious part of it, because I do these things about, for lack of figuring out better words right now, about issues involving women and men's portrayal of women, and trying to combat the male gaze and do what I would call the collaborative gaze. And I would have a respectful photograph of a woman, and she would wind up in this like gown covered from ankle all the way down to her wrist, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what I was afraid of is that being seen as modesty being the only thing acceptable for a woman, or for a man to present a woman. And we're living in the age of sex positivity, and I'm trying to reset how men can portray women. So anyway, I wanted to do something more rebellious on that, because or rebellious to the norm, I should say. And that's kind of where this was coming from. and I'm not going to show every picture just because I'm saving them for stuff. But I wanted to give you this little peek, and I thought it was nice, and it's kind of my death of summer look, and kind of ongoing story and theme. And there's deeper issues in that, because that kind of feeling is something that carries on, and it has to do with depression and anxiety and stuff, and just existentialism and so on. So that's where I was coming from, and they were good sports by getting in this muddy water. It was a lot of fun. It was kind of hot, very hot, and it was cool to experiment with, and you will see more of these. So I'm probably running out of time. I will be back next week with my Diana clone giveaway follow-up, where I actually show you some photos from the camera. I will talk about more about the magic of film and how to scan it and how to get ways that you could possibly enhance those scans beyond what you could get with 35 millimeter. And I probably will caveat will not be able to scan it with an APS-C sensor unless I come up with something pretty good. If you like these kinds of behind the scenes philosophical thoughts and content, and you like seeing the photographs and hearing me talk about it, please subscribe and like the video, turn on the bell notification, smash it like some people say, which is kind of just fun to say, smash the notifications bell. Thanks for all the comments last week, by the way. Keep it up. I love talking to you, so please feel free to comment on this. If you would like to enter for that camera giveaway on my 600th follower, please comment on the last video or on this video and say, this is my entry for the Diana clone. Anyway, I hope your week goes well. Take some pictures, and I will see you next week. Bye.